So, like I said, my own objective is to that the students who want to write this exam pass the exam. Why I also believe that the objective of the student who is also taking the exam is to also see that yes, I pass my exam from the perspective of the students. So, as a result, I am going to uh, take Shitoye Consola as my class rep for this course. So, because in the process of our teaching and in the process of the learning, if I'm sharing my screen, I may not really see who wants to join the class. So, and I think Shitoyin Konsola being my class rep that I have appointed will be assisting me to notify that, okay, someone wants to join the class. Shitoyin Konsola, do you accept to be our class rep for advanced taxation class?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, without further ado, I am going to introduce myself. My name is Abdurazak Gafar. I currently work with Ernest and Young, and I'm an assistant manager in sub-service line of assurance. I currently work with audits in assurance service line, and I also work in financial service industry of the audits sub-service line as well. So I'm a chartered accountant, and I have over 12 years of progressive experience that cut across many industries. Basically, uh, my career has actually spanned through financial services because I have worked with one of the leading banks in Nigeria, and I have also worked with a pioneer Islamic financial institution in Nigeria. So then, before moving to Ernest and Young, so that's why you can see that at least my career has actually centered around financial service industry. So I am going to be the facilitator for advanced taxation for these diets, and I want to employ everyone to uh, provide to provide an appropriate cooperation so that everyone can as well also enjoy the course. So that is uh, a few details about me. Now, we are now going to move into the course proper by starting with the course syllabus and the overview of what you are expected to do at an high level, because I will not lie to you, since yesterday, I have been trying to ensure that I come up with a summarized note, a reasonable note that will be that could be used in our learning process, and as well to also see that yes, these lesson notes also cover the specific area. So I've actually summarized them, and I believe that in the process of our learning, it will also aid our learning process as well. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen. I'm going to share my screen. So this is my screen. Please okay, I have not started sharing. Let me, please confirm if you can see my screen. Confirm if you can see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. Uh, and another thing I also like to emphasize on is that during the course of our lecture, if you have any question, if I am sharing my screen, I may not see anyone who is raising hand, and I may not also see anyone who wants to ask question or who also has an observation. So as for me, what I'm going to suggest is that if you have any question, just call my attention. Oh, you can. My first name is Abdurazak. Oh, you have a question, and I will give you the room. And one thing I also want you to know is that there is no wrong question. There is no foolish question. Because why I'm saying that there is no foolish question is that it is someone who scored 49 in exam that will appreciate the importance of 1 mark. Are you getting my point now? So, but if someone scored maybe 13, 20, you know that yes, you have actually not really prepared. But for someone to have scored 49, you can never tell me that that person did not prepare. Do you understand it now? So that's for us to know how important 1 mark will be in our exam. So if you have any question that you think you do not really understand, please do not hesitate to call my attention while we do justice to it together, because I believe we are all learning. We are all learning. So from the 2025 syllabus, ICAN syllabus, November 2025 ICAN syllabus that is going to take effect from November 2025, I've extracted all these topics that will be covered in our exam. Fine. One thing that I ICAN will not tell you the specific area where they will need to test. They will not be specific. They will just give you all the syllabus that okay, that will be tested. And another thing is that the fact that ICAN is saying section of the syllabus is only covering 5% does not mean they cannot take 30 marks question from that section. Please don't let us take that risk. Do not let us take that risk. If a syllabus is 5%, does not mean that, oh, since I don't need to stress myself, let me just, before we know it, from that 5 weighted syllabus, from that 5 weighted section of the syllabus, they may bring out 20 question marks, 20 marks question rather. Are you getting it now? So that is for us to know that every topic is important. Every topic is important. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. So we need to understand that every topic in this syllabus is important. So the course is divided into 6 sections. The first one that we have is tax administration. So under the tax administration, we'll be discussing about of 2017. Then we'll also be discussing about Nigerian tax administration system. We also have multiplicity of taxes, then objections and appeals, as well as tax appeal tribunal procedures. If we want to appeal on any tax matter, how do we go about it? So under this topic, it is under this section of the syllabus that is weighted 5% that these particular topics are being discussed. Another point I would also like to raise here is that when they weight a syllabus, 5%, this section is 10%. What they are saying does not mean that syllabus section is 5 marks. Let us get it confused. They are not telling you that it is 5 marks. They are just only telling you that, oh, it as in that we have listed in the syllabus, this particular area is sense. And you know, in professional level, what is being tested is our applications. So that is why we have in skills, right? So that is where we understand our theoretical. We understand the theory, the theoretical, the concepts, then the principles, right? So that is what we'll be doing in our skills. But in our professional, the basic things that we are doing here is the application of what we have learned. And I also want to believe that for most of us who are on this call, except maybe someone who has written his own skills as far back as 2020 or 2020. So that person may not write taxation at skills level. But from 2021 to up till this date, anyone who writes skills will definitely write taxation. I want to believe that. And except if the person is also just writing only the professional level, because we have some students that ICAN has given their school exemption to write from foundation to skills. So the only level that they'll be writing is just only professional level. But if you are not within that category, if you do not fall under that category, it means that automatically must have written taxation. Or do we have anyone on this call who did not write taxation at skills level? Anyone, please? Please feel free to talk. Feel free to
Yes,
talk.
sir.
Okay, so thank you. Then moving on, under
Please,
section B of
Mr.
the
Abdulrazak,
syllabus. Okay, yeah, I can hear you.
please, are you transcribing and recording the class?
I am recording, but I'm not transcribing. I'm recording the class.
Okay, please kindly transcribe also so that they will be written, because we usually transcribe and record videos.
Okay, let me see. Captions and translation and include captions. Okay, I think he's already doing it automatically because it's showing also stop transcribing. So I want to believe that it's already transcribing.
No, there's this 3 dots close to that red button.
Yeah, this it's
Yes.
it's not showing.
Okay.
So this is recorded already.
So okay, yeah, thank you. Okay, so moving on, the section B of the syllabus are actually centered on companies' income tax. We also have investment income. So under the company income tax, so we'll be discussing the legal framework, the basis period rules, the computation of CIT. Then under the investment income, we'll be discussing about dividend, interest, royalty, rents, and then the real estate investment companies. Then for our tax incentives, so we also have all these topics in terms of the pioneer status incentives, free trade zones, gas utilization incentives, digital economy incentives, then SME manufacturing, agricultural and export incentives. Then we also have capital gains tax. Under our capital gains tax, we'll be having our discussion on allowable stroke disallowable expense, exemptions, disposal and acquisition, planning and release. Then we also have this section F up till our section F that will be discussing on the extractive industry, which are oil and gas taxation, mining taxation, and other extractive industries. So those are the things that we are going to be covering during our classes. Having said that, I would like to also implore us, because these are first class is more or less like having an onboarding session, and then we also introduce the course to the class as well. I will also implore us that every topic is very important. I cannot overemphasize on that. Every topic is very, very important. And secondly, if you will be writing more than one paper, please do not have this mindset that, oh, this paper is very easier to pass. So maybe if I spend 10 hours on this one, I can just come and spend 2 hours on this one. So let me share from my personal experience with you. When I was writing my professional level, so I divided the paper into 3 and 2. So I first wrote three papers. At one sitting, I cleared everything with very good scores. Then come the following diets for me to write the remaining paper, which are SFM and then taxation. So then, because I was working in accounting firm and I've also been the person working basically on our tax area of the audit then. So I believe, oh, I know tax and there won't be any issue for me when it comes to tax. So I channel all my focus on SFM, thinking that I can still use my practical experience to solve taxation when I get to exam. Or it's not that maybe I was not reading, I was reading, but I didn't just really give it enough time. So after the exam, when the results came out, you will not be surprised. Fine, I got 65 in my SFM, but my taxation I got 27. So that is for you to also understand that you don't just think one paper is not really hard, so let me give it a less time. And you should not also forget the fact that if you don't clear your paper, ICAN will never consider you as a qualified accountant, let alone to now say that they will give you that ACA status, right? So what did I now do the following diet? I just considered, as I just admitted that I did not know anything about tax. So that was the first mindset that I had then, that I did not know anything about tax. So I now started everything again. So all the understanding that I have from my tax practice, from the professional tax practice that I have to put everything aside, right? So I now focus on, okay, what does ICAN really want in their syllabus? And then I started taking one after the other. As God will have it, when the result came out, I scored 77. So why I'm trying to emphasize on this is that do not let us underestimate any course. Please, if you are writing either CR, either SFM, either tax, any course that we are writing with them, please let us also give them time. Fine, we may not give them enough time as we are giving to the others, but it's not that maybe we'll now be, maybe if we want to study for like, let's say 10 hours in a week, we are now just giving only 1 hour or 30 minutes to the what was it called, to the topic or to the course, which we think is not really so important, is not really so difficult. So that we'll not just be caught unaware. So before we move into the introduction to taxation, I don't know if anyone has 1 or 2 questions. Any question, please? I want to see maybe anyone is trying to join. Okay, no one is joining again. So any question? Okay, in the absence of questions, so let us move to today's. I think someone just joined. Let me try and admit the person. Okay, so in the absence of questions, let us move into today's topic. Now, I have explained to us that in professional level, what is expected of us is the application, right? Application of what we have learned at skills level. So that is what is really expected of us. So which means we need to now start applying all the skills, all the knowledge that we have garnered during our skills level. So we need to be practical with what we are doing now. So I will just try and brief us about the introduction of tax before, because what if we check the ICAN syllabus for the introduction of tax, ICAN do not really go about the types of tax, the classification of tax and all those things. So what they do, because they believe that the knowledge you have in skills level, you should be able to apply it in professional level. But I will still try in one way or the other and just remind us of what we have done during our skills level. So, as we all know that in every business, an entity must find a means of operating such business activities by getting funds, either through the issue of shares, right? Or either through debt financing. That is for a private company. I'm trying to admit, oh, sorry, let me hide this. Oh, sorry. Okay, so like I said, every company must ensure that the source for finance to operate their business, and that is the only thing that can make the business to continue as a going concern when there is appropriate funding. Now, for governments, what does the government need? We know that government does not produce anything, they don't sell and they don't produce, right? So if the government of a nation does not produce item for resale before they can say that they will generate funds to run the affairs of the states, so how then do they now run the affairs of the states? So one of the tools that the government will use to finance the affairs of the economy is through tax, right? So, and government is saddled with the responsibility of ensuring that the economy is not seized. The economy continue to move forward. And if the company, I'm sorry, and if the government does not get enough funding to run the affairs of the state, automatically is also going to affect the growth of that country. In UK, they will tell you that two things are certain in UK: debt and tax. So what they are saying is that it's not everyone that will be wealthy, it's not everyone that will be rich, but once you are making an income, you must pay tax. So the only thing that the Western world, the Western countries, what they are using to run the affairs of their own economy is what is tax. So now, having understand that, what then is now tax? What is tax? So I want this class to be interactive as much as possible, and I want someone to just give their own understanding of tax. So you are free to unmute, please. If no one is talking, I will need to start calling names, and I don't know who. Maybe we are going to like that one. Yes, hello, I can hear you.
Good
Please, what's the
evening.
name? Good evening. What's the name?
My name is Abdul Wahab.
Okay, yeah. Good evening, Abdul Wahab. Yeah.
Although I've already been taxed from the group.
Okay. Okay.
By
Okay.
mistake.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, sorry about that.
Sorry. So my own understanding of tax is we always see it as a compulsory levy
Mm.
imposed by the government on
Mhm.
incomes of individuals and corporate bodies.
Thank you. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
And it's
Thank you very
mandatory
much.
for individuals,
Okay. Yeah.
corporate bodies.
Yeah. Thank you
Mm.
very much for that definition. So,
Okay.
like it was explained by Abdul Wahab, that a tax is a compulsory levy imposed by the government on the income of individual and the corporate entities. That is just the simple definition of tax. But according to National Tax Policy of 2017, tax is defined as any compulsory payment to governments imposed by law without direct benefits or return of value or a service, whether it is called a tax or not. So what they are telling us here is that if you pay tax, paying tax does not necessarily mean that governments must what? Governments must do anything in return. But in a sane environment, when the government generates tax, it is expected that they will use it to what? To develop economy. But even in the same economy that we are talking about, what it then means is that if I am paying 10,000 naira as personal income tax to a state government every month, it does not necessarily mean that the government must now give me a special attention or a special benefit that worth that 10,000 naira. Are you getting it now? So what the government should just do is that the people that are paying 100,000, the people that are paying 50,000, at the end of the day, they may still end up getting the same benefits. So the government will not just say, oh, because you people in this area, you are high net worth people, you are paying 1 million naira tax, so the water that we are going to be giving you will be different from the water that will be given to those people that are just paying 20,000, 5,000 naira tax. Are you getting it now? So that is why the national tax policy just explain it that, or just define it that tax is any compulsory payments to governments imposed by law. So which means it is not only on the income that tax is imposed on. Are you getting it now? So for instance, if you have value added tax, the reason why the national tax policy is giving this kind of definition is that it's not just only on the income of the individual, right? So now, for instance, if I purchase anything from someone that attracts value added, so you will see that it is not on the income that that tax has been deducted or has been imposed. Rather, it is on what? It is on my consumption. Are you getting it now? So that is just tax for you. So in summary, tax is any compulsory payments to governments. So this government that we are now talking about now, it may either be federal governments, it may either be state governments or local governments. So that is being paid to them. It is imposed by law because all these taxes that you are paying, they are being backed by law without what? Without any direct return or benefit or whatsoever service to the individual party or to the entity that has paid such tax. Now, before we move forward, let us just try to explain in brief the various type of tax that we have. So we can say that we have tax by incidents and then tax by rates. Under tax by incidents, that is where we'll be having our direct and indirect tax. While under our tax by rates, so that is when you are paying tax based on rates, right? That's when we classify tax based on rates. We have proportional, we have progressive, and then we also have regressive. So what do we mean by proportional? Proportional means that everyone is paying the same tax rates. Everyone is applying the same tax rates on the tax base. Are you getting my point now? For instance, if company income tax is a type of proportional tax, because if you are making 50,000 naira as profit, it will just be applied, let's say 30%. If you are a big company, if you are making 20,000 naira as profit, the tax rate might also be 30% as well, depending on the categories of company that your entity falls to. Then we also have what we call progressive tax. So our progressive tax is based on the income. It is based on the graduated amount. As your income increases, your tax that you are paying to also increases. So this one is not just about rate at all. It is on a graduated level. If your income, if your salary is, let's say, 20,000 naira, you will need to, at least it already has a certain amount of tax that you need to pay based on the applicable rates, right? So example of this one is company income tax, which is for proportional, while example of progressive tax is our personal income tax, right? Then for regressive tax, sorry, someone is trying to join. Let me admit, okay? Then for the regressive tax, what regressive tax means is that as your income increases, your tax reduces. But in Nigeria, the only two types of tax that we have, the only two classification of tax that we have in Nigeria is both proportional and then progressive. So that is just by the way. Now we have explained what tax is all about and what are the characteristics or attributes of tax. We have said from our definition that tax is a compulsory levy collected by government, and it is imposed on both individual and companies. It is imposed on both individual and companies. So before you can say that, okay, you want to pay tax, it is either the tax is paid on your income or on the asset or on the property, right? But who is the person that is paying it? It is an individual. You cannot just have an asset. Let's say, okay, we just have motor vehicle, and maybe a tax is applied on that motor vehicle. A government cannot just say, oh, it is motor vehicle that is going to pay that tax. So the tax base is just the motor vehicle, but who is paying it? It is the individual or the companies. And then there is no direct benefits in return for paying tax to government. Having said that, what is now taxation? What is taxation? Taxation is just a process by which a government, in accordance with established law, imposes, assess, and collect tax from individuals and legal entities to generate revenue for public purposes. What we are saying here is that there is difference between tax and taxation. Tax is what you are paying. The payments, this is what we are paying. But how do we pay this tax? How do we assess in terms of the assessments? In terms of the assessments, right? The timing, right? The collection. So all the procedures for this collection of tax, for the assessment, for the computation. So that process of doing them is called taxation. Are you getting the explanation now? The process of doing it, if I'm saying that, okay, I want to assess you. So if I'm going to assess the individual, on what basis am I assessing? Is it based on the Personal Income Tax Act? Is it based on Company Income Tax Act? If it is based on the Personal Income Tax Act, who is supposed to collect the tax? Is it the federal government that will collect the tax? Is it the state government that will collect the tax? Is it the local government that will collect the tax? Even if I have identified the level of government that will collect the tax, when am I supposed to pay the tax? Am I supposed to pay at the year end? Am I supposed to pay on a monthly basis? Am I supposed to pay on a quarterly basis? So that is what taxation is all about. And why is tax necessary? There are major four functions which taxes serve any economy. There are just major four functions. So from these major four functions, I can bring the mnemonics and call it race. I can call it race. So the first one is revenue generation. It is very necessary. Why tax is necessary is that the government needs to generate revenue so that they can continue to run the affairs of the state. They can continue to develop the economy. They can continue to also provide infrastructures to the people who are in the economy. Are you getting it now? Then allocation of resources. Another function of tax is to ensure that the resources that we have, they also allocate it. And how can they allocate the resources? We should not forget the fact that was it not in 2024 when Taiwo Oyedele, when he was when he was working on the new distribution of VAT, we could all see that the government, all the governors from the northern states, they rejected that bills. They are saying that no, they are not going to accept it, that is not going to favor them, blah blah blah, and all those things. So that is for us to see that even taxes to ensure that they allocate the resources evenly. Are you getting it now? So because if we have, there are some states that has oil, right? There are some states that has another mineral resources, maybe like gold. But my own state does not have gold. But what we have is another thing. Maybe we have limestone in my own state. So what we now need to do is that because I have limestone in my own state, all the money that is coming from the limestone cannot just only sit in my state. All the money that is coming from the oil cannot just sit only in my state. So they need to ensure that they allocate all the resources to all the other states, so that every other people living in that state can as well also benefit. Then control of economy. Governments can also use tax to control economy. They can control the economy in such a way that maybe they can use expansionary, or they can also use contractionary. So if the government wants to use tax as an expansionary, so what will now happen is that the government wants to expand they want to expand their spending. Are you getting it now? So when they are expanding the spending, what they may likely do is to reduce the tax rate so that people in the country can spend more. So that is expansionary. Then if they also want to use it to contract the economy, maybe the money that we have in the economy is too much. So what they will now need to do is to ensure they increase the tax rate so that it can reduce the level of spending of people. Are you getting it now? And then another way the government can also use tax to control economy is to discourage some harmful products. For instance, let us use tobacco as an example. So there are some taxes that the companies that are in tobacco industries will be paying that may not be applicable to other. This is to ensure that they are using it to discourage they are using it to discourage the tobacco, the level at which people will be taking tobacco. Then the government can also use it to also encourage the infant industries. An example of this was when the government established a Finance Act 2020 that exempted some of these smaller companies that their turnover is less than 25 million naira. They are exempted from paying taxes. So you can see that the government is also using that one to control economy in order to encourage more people to go into businesses. Then equity in wealth distribution. Why we say it is equity in wealth distribution is that those people that are living in Ikoyi, what they will be paying will be higher than the people who are maybe living in Agege. So, and if the government now wants to structure in Agege, they will not say that because what is coming from Agege is very low. That is why they will not do anything in Agege. So what they will now need to do is that if what they realize from Agege is just only 30 million naira, and they need to carry out a project of, let's say, 70 million. So what they will just do is to take from those people that are paying higher, from those who are staying in Lekki or staying in Ikoyi. So what they will do is to collect the money from everyone, and then they will now use it to construct or to erect any infrastructure that they would like to do in any environment, regardless of what the government is generating from that region. So
Sorry, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Is the equity in wealth distribution the fourth one?
Yes. Equity in wealth distribution. Yeah.
Sorry.
Now let us talk about the canons of a good tax system. canons of a good tax system. Before we can say that the tax system is efficient, is effective, what are those things that must be present? What are those things that we must see before we can say yes, the tax system is what is effective, or it is a good effective tax system? You know, if you all go to UK, we can see what they are using their money for. So because everybody knows, what me I can say is that in the Western world, they have effective, good tax system. Are you getting it now? So their tax system is very okay because everybody knows when to pay, everybody knows how to pay, and everybody knows what is to be paid. So if all those factors are also present in an economy, in a tax system, that is when we have a good tax system. So what are the basic things? So according to Adam Smith in his book, The Wealth of the Nations, that he wrote in 1776, he outlined 4 basic canons of a good tax system. So, and it is on these 4 basic canons that many other principles are prepared. So the first one is equity and fairness. When we say a good tax system must be what? It must be fair to everyone. And why we are saying it must be fair is that, you know, there is difference between equity and equality. If we say equality means that everybody must pay the same thing. So for someone who is earning 20,000 naira and someone who is earning 1 million naira every month, and you are now saying, okay, everybody must pay 5,000 naira. Is that one an equality or equity? Who can answer that? Is it an equality or equity?
So please come again.
Okay, my question is that before we can say a system, a system is what is fair enough, that there is equity in this system, and I use a scenario where 2 people are earning different amounts as an income. Someone earns 20,000 naira monthly, another person earns 1 million naira monthly, and we are now saying that both of them should pay 5,000 naira as tax. That 5,000 naira that we ask them to pay, is that one called equality or it is called equity?
Equality.
Exactly, that is equality. And a good tax system does not need equality. What a good tax system needs is equity. So what we are saying here is that everyone who is paying tax must be able to pay tax according to their ability. A tax must be paid. A tax must be paid according to according to the ability of the payer. So what is my ability? My ability is that I'm earning 20,000 naira and I should not pay more than tax that relates to that 20,000 naira. I am earning 1 million naira, I should not pay more than tax that relates to that 1 million naira. So that is the ability. So that is the fairness there, that everyone is paying according to the ability. Then for the certainty, what certainty is saying here is that, number one, everyone that is paying tax must know how much to be paid. So I must know how much to be paid, as in how much is to be paid by those who are paying the tax. Then for conveniency, I must also know the period that the tax is expected to be paid. So you cannot just knock on my door at any time that, okay, yeah, come and pay tax. It does not work that way. So for a good tax system to be effective, it means that there should be a convenience. I must know when it is expected of me to pay the tax. We all know that for every companies with year end of 31st December, by June ending of the following year, of the subsequent year, they know that yes, that is when they are supposed to file their returns. That is when they are supposed to pay their tax. Are you getting it now? So that is for the convenience. And then the economy. When we are talking about the principle of economy, what economy is saying is that the amount of tax to be paid, issue the cost of compliance should not be more than the amount of tax that I need to pay. You cannot tell me that maybe my tax is, let's say, 15,000 naira, and I should now go and get a tax consultant that will collect 70,000 naira from me. This one, it means that this is not economical at all. Likewise, for the tax authority that wants to collect tax, what they are also supposed to spend on collecting the tax, it should not be more than the tax itself. The tax authority should not be using 1 million naira to chase a tax of 20,000 naira. So it means that that tax system is not effective and is also not efficient enough. Those are the four basic principles of tax system, of a good tax system, that was propounded by Adam Smith in 1776. While the other principle of a good tax system, as we have it in our national tax policy, is flexibility. Then we also have sustainability, simplicity, and clarity. So all these things, they are still tilting to the same thing. So when we are saying flexibility, flexibility means that there should be a way, a good tax system must be able to be adjusted. So we cannot just say, okay, the tax rate is 20% and it has to be 20%. So we need to consider so many things. Is there enough reason for us? Is there any avenue for us to say that, okay, we want to be flexible, we want to adjust the rate? If the economy is growing, let us increase the rate. If the economy is not growing and we need to ensure that we have economic growth, let us also reduce the rate and all those things. Are you getting that? So those are the flexibility that we are talking about. So a good tax system must be what? It must be flexible in nature. Then sustainability. The policy that we have in any good tax system, it must be sustainable. It's not something that we should just, because we need to understand the economy. We need to look at it that, okay, this tax policy that we are rolling out, is it even really sustainable? We need to understand the economy before we roll out any tax policy. Then simplicity, it must be simplified. A good tax system must be simplified. For instance, everybody knows that VAT rate is at 7.5%. So we don't need to start saying, okay, we need to do one or two adjustments before we can arrive at our VAT rate. We already know. So all our tax system. And another thing is that for some other taxes, let us use example, our payee. We already know that, okay, if I'm going to pay payee, it is on a graduated level. The first 300,000 at 7%, the next 300,000 at 11%, the next 500,000. So it must be simplified to the extent that people should be able to understand what they are talking about, and it must also be cleared enough. So any question at this junction? Okay, so I want to believe that all this explanation is well understood. Now, what are the challenges of Nigerian tax system? So this write-up that I have here, I extracted them from our national tax policy because our syllabus specified on, okay, what do we need to understand? So one of the challenges, so these are the challenges that we have with Nigerian tax system, and which I believe that from next year 2026, many of these challenges will have been addressed by our by our National Tax Act that will take effect from January 2026. So, but for now, one of the challenges that we have with our Nigerian tax system is, number one, we have lack of robust framework for the taxation of the informal sector. You see, it is very difficult for government to even say these are the total number of our people that are in informal sector. What is their revenue? Because majority of them does not even use their bank account. I mean, they don't use the company bank account. Some of them do not even register with the CAC for them to, for government to know that, okay, this is the total number of informal businesses that we have in the economy. So that is one of the problems. So there is no robust framework for their tax. So except only some associations, maybe association of barbers, what they might do at the end of, maybe they will just buy a sticker. That sticker, they may sell that sticker for them for 20,000 or for 5,000 or for 10,000. So, you know, the local government might just use that avenue, or the state government might just use that avenue to generate revenue from them. And in that instance, is the government really generates accurate revenue from them? No. So they are just using an estimate. So because there is no robust framework for those people in that sector, and then the high network individuals. So for me, I can really say that it is only Lagos state government that is tracking some of these people, because what Lagos state government is also using to develop the state is through the tax. So they already have the high network people, and in some other states, we will see some of these so-called rich men, some of these so-called the wealthy people that are not even paying tax at all, and they are generating huge revenue, they are generating huge income annually. But because we do not have a robust framework for them in order to capture them into the tax net, so it is very, very difficult. So that's one of the challenges. And the timing the revenue base and creating the inequity. For instance, the governments, they may leave the so-called high net worth people because they have influence in the society, and they will now start chasing the smaller people. They will start chasing the so-called the middle level people. Are you getting it now? So that's one of those things, because the inequity is just there. So the government is on it because they know that they cannot just go to their house and seal their house and arrest them that, okay, because you are not paying tax, so we are going to see your house. It's not done. They cannot do it. But you will see local government, they will be disturbing the kiosk owner. They will be disturbing the people who have small shops, and they will start disturbing them that, oh, you need to come and pay this. So that's one of those challenges that we also have. Then we also have the database as well. We do not also have the database of the taxpayers, then in terms of the exchange of the information. So, and another thing is the inordinate drive by all tiers of government to grow internally generated revenue. We see some states that their internally generated revenue for months is not even up to 5 billion naira. Are you getting it now? So those are one. So they have not really worked hard to look at it that, okay, what can we do to ensure that we have enough revenue generation on a monthly basis, except maybe Rivers state governments, Kaduna state governments, as well as Ogun state government, and then the Lagos state government. But most states in the northern states, they've not really come up with a strategy to they've not really devised a strategy to ensure that they also generate, they also increase their internally generated revenue. And then they also have another challenge is that we also have in one of our Nigerian tax system is the insufficient information available to taxpayers on tax compliance. Many people does not even know what the tax is all about. They don't even know what they are supposed to do because the tax education is not there. The enlightenment is not also enough. So those are just some of the few challenges that we have here. Now, let us now talk about our national tax policy. So the national tax policy was redesigned in 2017, and there are some objectives that were highlighted in this national tax policy that needs to be achieved. One of them is to ensure that it guides the operation and review of the tax system. You know, when our president just came on board, he appointed a presidential fiscal committee. Are you getting it now? That they should revamp the old tax system in Nigeria, that we have a multiple tax and all those things. So that is one of those things that the national tax policy aims to achieve. So to guide the operation and review of the tax system whenever the needs arises, then to also provide the basis for future tax legislation and administration. When the committee on the fiscal policy, when they did their work, you know, and when Taiwo Edele, when he was giving his report, he said that they are still working on some other areas of tax. That it's not that they can even finish everything at once, but it is just a gradual. So some of those things is the gradual processes. So which means what they need to do, our national tax policy has also identified how some of those things will need to be done. Then it also serves as a point of reference for all stakeholders on taxation. It also provides a benchmark on which stakeholders shall be held accountable. And it also provides clarity on the roles and responsibilities of the stakeholders in the tax system. You know, it is our national tax policy that identified some of the stakeholders that we have within the tax system and their responsibilities as well, and how these stakeholders will also be held responsible. So our national tax policies has actually highlighted everything. So I don't know if there is any question for me before we forge ahead. Okay, since there is no any question, let us continue with the taxation as a tool for economic management and development. In my earlier explanation, I said that we can use tax to control economy, right? And we can also use the tax to develop economy. And we also said that a tax system, a good tax system should also be sustainable. So it should be sustainable for the growth and development at all time. So in this regard, the tax system should be geared towards meeting the following goals. Number one is wealth creation and employment. So this is the area that ICAN want us to address. So before we can say that the economy is developed and there is also a growth in the economy through taxation. So what are those things that need to be present before we can admit that? One of it is that a good tax system must create a wealth, and it must also create an employment opportunity. And how can this wealth and employment be created? Number one, the tax policies shall promote employment, exports, and local production. So we can use tax to attract direct, we can use it to attract foreign investment, direct, foreign FDI, we call it FDI, so foreign direct investments. So if our tax rate is low, that might attract the investors to come and establish in Nigeria. One of the countries that I know that they don't even pay tax on their income is United Arab Emirates. So they have used that tax to attract investors. You will see some companies having their head office in Abu Dhabi, in United Arab Emirates, just because of the tax incentive that they will get. So that is for us to understand that before we can say we want to use tax to create a wealth and to also develop a wealth, such tax policy must promote employment. Then it must also promote exports, and it must also encourage local production. One of it is when you are into manufacturing of products, if you are manufacturing the product, you are exempted from withholding tax. So they will not withhold your tax. I mean, they will not withhold your income. So anyone who is buying item from you must pay you all your money. Are you getting it now? So that is just to encourage production. And then for export as well, there are some items that if you are exporting outside of the country, what you will pay as tax will be very little. So that is for us to also understand that a tax can be used to encourage exports. And then the employment for those people that have smaller businesses, in order to ensure that business keep afloat, in order to ensure that the business keep operating, the government also give that incentive that instead of you to pay tax, this money that you are supposed to use to pay your tax, just use it to invest into that business so that you can continue to employ more people. So when we get to pioneer status, other tax incentives will appreciate all this more. Then our tax policies and laws cannot be retroactive. What you are saying is that if you have any tax policy today, you cannot apply it retrospective. It has to start from the period that you established that tax law. So if there is going to be any tax law that will affect the profits, okay, in one of these national tax acts that was just established is that the people who are earning higher, they will be paying more tax, while those who are earning below 800,000 naira will not pay any tax. So because of that, they cannot say, oh, we need to backdate it. If you want to backdate, for how long are you going to do that? So that is one of the policies of a tax. It should be what? It should be prospective, not proactive, not retroactive. Tax policies and laws should also ensure equal investment opportunities and also support for businesses, whether local or foreign. If we have any foreign companies in Nigeria, all the tax policies that we are going to apply should also favor them, as it is also going to favor the local companies. Tax policies and laws on investment should be long-term focused and it should be long-term focused and tenured to enable investors plan with reasonable certainty. I am coming to Nigeria to invest, and your tax policy, you are just changing your tax policy every year. You are changing it every year. What I would just consider is that this tax policy is not sustainable enough. So thereby, I don't think I can continue to operate in this kind of environment. So if you are using, okay, let us look at our VAT tax, for example, the VAT tax that has been established since 1993 was just changed when? It was just changed in 2020. Look at how many years that the law was operated before it was changed. So there should be a sustainability in any tax law that we are proposing. So it's not that we propose one law this year, we'll now see that we are changing it next year. Now look at our Finance Act 2020 that provides that every smaller companies whose their turnover is less than 25 million naira should not pay tax. You can see that that law has not been changed till today. So there should be enough reasonable time for the tax law to work, to be operated, so that the foreign investors will be able to, or they'll be able to reasonably ascertain what they are supposed to do. Any tax incentive granted should also be broad, it should be sector-based, and it should also be transparent. If we are saying that for every companies operating in telecom industry, that we are going to give them some incentives. These incentives should be across. It should not be applied to only one company and not applied to another company. So it should be a sector-based. If you want to give an incentive to mining industry, it should be across all the companies that are in that industry. So that is how the tax law, that is how the taxation can be used to create wealth and to also create employment. Then revenue forgone from incentives or concessions should be quantified against expected benefits. If you are giving any incentive, we are giving incentive to encourage investments in the country, to also encourage economic growth, to also encourage economic growth, and to also encourage employment. So we should be able to quantify it that, okay, if you are giving any incentive, how many people will be employed? How many additional people will be employed? So how is it going to also turn our economic around? How is it also going to affect people that will bring investments into our country? If anyone is bringing investment into the country, if you are saying, okay, we want to give incentive to companies in this industry, so that will attract more foreign direct investments. It will attract more foreigners to come and invest in the country. So, and if they are bringing their money to come and invest, automatically it will also increase the number of people that will be in the employment brackets. So that is one of those things so these are the basic advantage for using taxation for the basis of creating wealth, and then for the basis of generating more employment. Now, what are the interaction of fiscal policy? We have what we call fiscal policy, we have monetary policy, and then we also have policy. What is fiscal policy? Fiscal policy is what is being used by the governments. Fiscal policy is being used by governments to control economy in terms of spending and revenue. So that is what fiscal policy is. Why is also used to economy, such as interest rates, FX rates. So that is what monetary policy is all about. So it is central bank that makes use of this. Central Bank of Nigeria make use of monetary policy to control the economy, while the federal government will use fiscal policy to stimulate. They will use it to stimulate during recession. They will also use it to redistribute the income to promote social, and then to also reduce inflationary pressure. Then for the trade policy, so the government also use that one they use it to discourage some industries, and they also use it to encourage some industries. So if the government does not want anyone to start importing some item, what the government may do, what they might do, they might intentionally increase the excise duty. They might increase the excise duty. They might also increase the custom duty. So if the government does not want some items to be imported into the country, and if the government also wants to encourage exportation, so what they will need to do is that they will give some incentives. So all these things, this excise duty, custom duty, export promotion, and the rest, they are the types of, they are some of the examples of trade policy. So they will just give one policy that, okay, this thing is going to affect some industry. For instance, we have free trade. We have a free trade zone, and in free trade zone, it's more or less like an export area, so they don't pay tax. So now, if any company now wants to move to free trade zone, what they will need to do is that, because the government wants to encourage what is really coming out from those areas, so they will now say, okay, we have also granted you this opportunity so that you too can also start operating in the free trade zone. So, and why the government will do this is to protect the domestic industries, that is our local industry, from foreign competition, then to also expand the exports market, and to also maintain a balance, to also maintain a healthy balance of payments. So those are what the trade policy are meant for. But all these policies and the that we have here, they are also interrelated. So the trade policy, fiscal policy, and monetary policy, they are interrelated. So if the governments want to expand, if they want to expand economy, right? They want to expand maybe some investment, they want the economy, they want people to really invest. So what they will need to do is that they may reduce the interest rates. Reduce interest rate. And interest rates is also under what? It's also under, it is under monetary policy. When they reduce interest rates, they know that people will spend more, or people may be able to borrow more. Are you getting it now? So that when people borrow more, it means people will need to spend more. And if they spend more, the government will also generate more tax. Government will generate more tax. Are you getting it now? While it may also encourage our balance, it will also affect our balance of trade. So all these policy, the fiscal policy, the monetary policy, they are interrelated. So these are the tools that the government also use to stimulate the economy. You know, the taxation is under fiscal policy. The government may increase the tax rate. So when they increase the tax rate, for instance, if there is an inflation, let us take for instance that there is inflation in the economy. So if there is inflation in the economy, what will the government do? They will increase the tax rates. They will increase the tax rates. So when they increase the tax rate, it means that there is no, it will reduce the unhealthy competition. That okay, there is inflation in the country and there is more money and all those things. So what the government will just need to do is to increase the tax rate, so that when they increase the tax rate, the government will generate more revenue. They will generate more revenue. And when they generate more revenue, so it will also help them to increase the expenditure. Is to increase the expenditure on infrastructure, or other social amenities. So that is how governments use the fiscal policy, the monetary policy, and then the trade policy to stimulate the economy and to also encourage some businesses in Nigeria. Any questions thus far? Any questions thus far? Okay, since there is no questions, let us move to the responsibilities of the stakeholders. The responsibility of the stakeholders within the tax system. The responsibility of the stakeholders within the tax system. Number one, the government. Government is the number one stakeholder. So what does the government need to do? This is based on our National Tax Policy 2017. So what does the government need to do? You know, earlier in our class, I explained to us that the objective of our national tax policy is to identify some stakeholders, is to identify their responsibilities, and to also identify how they will be held accountable. So now, one of those things that are listed in our national tax policy is the responsibility of the stakeholders. So one of the stakeholders is the government. What does the government need to do? What is the responsibility of the stakeholders according to the national tax policy? The government must implement and regularly review tax policy. Come 2026 January, we know that there is going to be change in our tax landscape in Nigeria. So who has done that? It is government. So their responsibility is to ensure that they implement and then they also review tax policies and laws whenever there is need for it. Then they should also provide information on all revenue collected on a quarterly basis. You will see that FIRS, they normally provide a report on the revenue that was generated from oil, non-oil, oil generated revenue, oil revenue generated, then from non-oil revenue generated. Then why custom too? Custom will also provide what they have generated in terms of the custom duty, in terms of the excise duty as well. So custom will also provide this. Are you getting it now? So that is, and all these people, who are they working for? They are working for the government. So, and the responsibility of the government is to ensure that they provide the information on all the revenue collected on a quarterly basis. They should also ensure the adequate funding, administrative and operational autonomy of tax authorities. What we are saying here is that The state government must have an autonomy to operate its tax administration. The local government must also have its own autonomy to operate its tax administration, as well as the federal government. Then they should also ensure a reasonable transition between the 3 and 6 months before implementation of a new tax. So when the new tax law was signed, was it not in June? So it was announced that it would take 6 months before the tax law would be implemented, before it would take effect, before the law would take effect, it would take 6 months. So that is one of the responsibility of the government as a stakeholder. Then another stakeholder in a tax system is the taxpayer. So the taxpayer must what? So there must be a relevant information for the tax obligation. Any tax that I'm supposed to pay, I need to what? I need to know. So what we are saying here is that a taxpayer is a person, a group of persons or an entity that pays or that is also liable to tax. The taxpayer is the most critical stakeholder and primary focus of the tax system, because it is from the taxpayer that the government will generate the revenue. The taxpayer shall consider tax responsibilities as a civic obligation. We should all consider it that this is an obligation on my part. As the government has the rights, as the government has the duty to provide infrastructure to the people in the economy, we also have our civic right to pay tax. That's why you say FRS that they will tell you your tax obligation, your tax payment is your civic right. So it is our rights and obligation to also pay tax. So as a taxpayer must receive prompt and professional assistance in dealing with tax authorities. So if I'm going to deal with you as a taxpayer, you must be able to provide me with the relevant assistance that is needed. I must also be able to raise an objection to decisions and assessments and receive response within a reasonable time. If a revenue authority is assessing me wrongly, I have that right to object to that decisions, maybe by taking them to the tax tribunal. By taking them to the tax appeal tribunal, right? And I must also receive response within a reasonable time. Then, as a taxpayer, I must also have a right to fair and impartial appeal. So there should be the appeal to the tax should also be fair enough to me. And then the self-representation of or by any agent of choice, I should also be able to appoint anybody whom I think I want him or her to represent me on any tax matter. Then for the revenue agencies, so the revenue agencies must treat every taxpayer as a customer. They must also ensure that there is efficient implementation of tax policies, laws, and international treaties. When a government makes tax law, if there is any tax law, who is to implement it? The revenue agencies. The revenue agencies will be the one that will implement the tax law. Then they should also facilitate inter-agency cooperation and exchange of information. What we are saying here is that if, for instance, my withholding tax is supposed to be remitted to Ogun State, and it was mistakenly remitted to Oyo State, at least there should be a reconciliation. There should be an interagency between Ogun State's Internal Revenue Service and Oyo State's Internal Revenue Service. They should be able to sort this matter out because both of them are revenue agency. So they should be able to facilitate interagency cooperation and exchange information. Then, as a revenue agency, they should also undertake timely tax audits and investigation. They should ensure that any tax audit that they want to carry out is timely. And if they also want to carry out any tax investigation, it should also be timely. So that is their own work. And then undertake any tax awareness and taxpayers education. It is also their responsibility to ensure that they carry out tax awareness and tax education, and to also establish a robust process to prevent, detect, and punish corrupt tax officials. So that is their responsibilities. So, as highlighted by our national tax policies, we have identified 3 stakeholders: the government, by making the laws and by also ensuring that all the policies are designed right. Then the taxpayer must ensure that the tax is paid on time, the assessment is done on time. Then if there is any need for support, it should also be obtained from the tax authority. Then the revenue agency, by ensuring that they implement the tax laws, they implement the tax policies, they also ensure that they carry out the tax audits and investigation as and when due. They should also ensure that they also collect all the taxes that are due to the government from the relevant taxpayers. Then we also have professionals, bodies, tax practitioners, consultants, and agents. So these people, their own responsibility is to act accordance with professional code of conduct and ethics. You will see some tax consultants. They will be the one advising their clients to avoid tax. Are you getting it now? So, and which is very wrong. So they should ensure that they deal and they also act with professional code of conduct and ethics. Then they should not also aid and abet tax evasion and avoid corrupt practices. Who can tell me the difference between tax avoidance and tax evasion? Who can assist us with the difference between tax avoidance and tax evasion?
Tax, hello.
Hello, yes, I'm with you, sir.
Yeah, tax avoidance is exploiting the loopholes or taking advantage of the laws to minimize your tax liability.
Yes.
While that of tax evasion is refusal to pay
Exactly.
or reducing your tax liability illegally.
Exactly. So which means tax avoidance is legal, right?
Yes.
Why
Yes.
tax evasion is
illegal.
So now let me just cite one example. In 2020, there was an issue between a British American school. Is it British American School or British International School? Between British American School and Federal Inland Revenue Service. So what happened is that the Federal Inland Revenue Service insisted that the British International School must pay tax. Okay, I think the matter happened in 2007. Sorry. So the Federal Inland Revenue Service says that they insisted that the British International School must pay tax because they are no longer offering charitable activities, right? But they insisted that what they are now doing is a profit-oriented business. At the end of the day, they all went to courts. So at the Tax Appeal Tribunal FRS 1, at the Court of Appeal FRS 1, High Court FRS 1, until they dragged that matter to Supreme Court. So when they got to Supreme Court, what Supreme Court says is that what did this entity registered as? The entity registered as what? As limited liability by guarantee. And in the FRS law, in our tax law, rather, in the company income tax law, if you are registered as a limited by guarantee, you are exempted from paying tax, right? So with that, Supreme Court ruled in favor of British International School until 2020. That FRS now says, which the Finance Act now provides that whether you are schools or so far you are making profits, you must pay tax. Are you getting it now? So what we can say here is that for the tax avoidance, the British International School has used the loophole of the tax to avoid the tax here. But as it was explained by one of our speakers on the call, that tax avoidance is a refusal to pay, or you are trying to even reduce your tax legally. You are not using any tax law, but you are doing it with purpose. So thank you for that explanation. So as a tax consultant, we should not encourage tax evasion, but we can encourage tax avoidance. And if you are going to encourage any tax avoidance, or if you are going to advise any tax avoidance, let us also do it within the ambit of the law. So then we should also promote tax compliance. As a tax consultant, we must ensure that we constantly remind our clients that they need to pay their tax on time, they need to file on time, and they need to also do all their tax planning on time, so to avoid unnecessary tax litigations. Then we also have media groups and advocacy groups. So as a media groups, what would they need to do? They need to promote tax education and awareness. They need to articulate and protect taxpayers' rights. Then they should also advance accountability. They must ensure that they are shouting on the government to be transparent in the tax utilization, in the tax revenue utilization, and they must also ensure that they serve as a town crier by ensuring governments judiciously use the tax revenue. Then they should also ensure accurate, objective, and balanced reporting. So if what they are saying is A, they should not be saying B. They should be accurate, and they should also be objective with whatever reports that they are giving. And they should also ensure that aspiring political office holders clearly on the tax policy and Nigerian tax system, and are able to articulate their plans for the tax system to which they will be held accountable. So one of their responsibilities to create tax awareness, is to create tax education, and to also encourage people to pay their tax, and to also serve as a form of advocacy for the government to account for whatever they have generated from the tax. So those are the things that we'll be discussing in relation to our national tax policy as highlighted in our syllabus. So any question before we move to fiscal federalism and tax administration? So we are having 9 minutes more, and I think I will use this 9 minutes just to entertain questions, because we may not really be able to finish everything today. Fine, we are supposed to start the class last week, but I was actually not around. I was on official assignment, and before I came back, so the whole thing, the timing and everything I couldn't even meet up. So that was the reason. So I think our time has been fast spent, and we have 9 minutes left before, so that for some of us who want to go and prepare for the other class can have that time. So, and before we call it a class, I want us to, as I want to entertain any class, I want to entertain questions, so that if there is any area for clarification and where we need to also provide more clarity, that can be done. So, any questions, any observations, and any plus or minus? The class is open. So let me stop sharing so that I can see the people who are on the call. So any questions so far? Should I start calling names? Okay, so in the absence of questions, so I want to say thank you to everyone who has joined the class and those who have also participated. And please, I want us to make this class to be interactive, because I think it's just only one person that has been contributing. Please let us try as much as possible to also lend our voice, because it is in the process of contributing that is when we will know whether we understand what we are discussing. Because sometimes we may think we know something, but if we voice out and we just lend our voice, so if what we contributed is wrong, so it will be easier for us to quickly correct us, so that we will not carry that mindset into the exam hall and thinking that what we know is right, which might actually be wrong. So that is what I
Hello.
want to say. Yeah, okay. Hello, Mr. Abdul.
Yeah, some of the key points you highlighted, are you going to share them?
Yes, I'm going to share the notes with you. I'm going to share it
All
with
right.
you. I'm going to share the
All
notes
right.
with you. Thank you.
Thank you. You have done wonderfully well, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. So any other observations, any other questions before we call it a class? Okay, I don't know. We have our coordinator on the call in person of Mr. Sadiq Okikiola. So I don't know, maybe he has one or two things that he would like to contribute before we call it a class.
They're already calling us for prayers here, but yeah.
All right. Thank you, sir, Mr. Abdurasak. Yes, I think the lecture is well detailed, and I believe each and every one of the participants gain one or two things. And the only thing is, I can't see any other person apart from Mr. Abdul asking question. So we believe that everything that is being said and explained are well understood. So thank you very much once again for the invaluable knowledge that you have shared with us. Thank you.
Thank you. So we are. I think we'll be meeting next Wednesday by God's grace. So thank you every time, and have a good evening. Bye.
Yeah, good night, sir.
Yeah, man.